This is Ron Brown again, and this video is about a scan that I call my Perfect Speculator scan. The scan is based upon a book that was written several years ago, and it was about a speculator who concentrated a large part of his capital into a single stock or a few stocks, and made a tremendous living. And these stocks are stocks that are breaking out to either a 52-week high or a multi-year high. And I'm going to get into the construction of the filter and so on and show you some other things that I've been doing with it. Once again, standard risk disclaimer: any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Okay, I've got HCSI open, and I'm going to click on my warehouse view. You're going to find this scan under my 01 folder, my daily prospecting scans. And it's down here. It's a Perfect Speculator primary screen, 52 weeks or a 3.25 year high. And I'm going to click on my space bar holding the alternate key, and that takes me into all securities. Then I'll re-engage the filter, and these are the stocks. You can see that 200 stocks are passing this filter today. Now I think 44 stocks were added and met the criteria yesterday, and the criteria is, if you look at these columns right here, it's either going to be either or both a 798-day high, which is a 3.25 year high. That's as far back as HCSI calculates, or a 52-week high, which is zeros. So going down this list here, you can see that all of these stocks down to here are at least a 3.25 year high. Could be higher. They're all 52-week highs also. And if I click on the 52-week high and go down this list, it goes on and on. You can see that a lot of stocks hit a 52-week high yesterday. You can also see that there are a lot of negative numbers here because those 52-week highs did not stick on a lot of these stocks. But today, on Friday, I'm sure that many of them are testing those 52-week highs again. Now, why is this an important scan? Well, let's just take a look at it. It's a basic scan. Days since a 52-week high equals 0, or days close is high. That's the highest close over greater than or equal to 798. That's as high as we can go. The last close has to be $5 or more. Trading only 100,000 shares. Common stock, group rank greater than 0. In other words, I want all of these to be in groups only, so I'm not including IPOs here. And that IPO equals no. And that gives me, for today, 200 stocks. So it has to be one or the other today. That's why this column, the 52-week column, is all zeros. Now, good way to look at this is to bring up the spectrum analyzer, and you get a feel for where the strength is. You can see that there were 6 in banks, 6 in PC insurance, REITs, trucking, mortgage finance, home builders. Home builders have been on a tear for quite some time now, and they continue to go higher. Now, I like this scan, not because I'm necessarily looking for stocks that are hitting 52 weeks high and going higher. Yes, that's great, but this list of stocks can be used to look for stocks that are pulling back, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Right now, though, this is today. This is a snapshot of today. Either a 52-week high or a 3.25 year high, or both. So here's a Rocketdyne. It hit both. I'll just click on it, and we'll take a look at both the daily and the weekly charts. Here's the daily chart, and here it is today. That doesn't look right, but it must be. Let's hit an F5 and see what happens. I'm doing a manual update on this. And it looks like it hasn't moved any more than that. Let's go for a different stock. APH. Now you can see this is one of those that hit a 52-week high yesterday, and it's pulling back today. A little bit of profit taking. Now I'll bring the weekly chart up. If I put a crosshair on here, this is a 52-week high yesterday and also a 3.25-year high. So if I zoom out on this, you can see that this is an all-time high. So very strong stock. What I want to point out here, and this is a weekly chart, these stocks move in waves, of course, so there are always opportunities if they pull back, and I'm going to show you something that I put in after my attempted webinar yesterday that I didn't think of at the time. But so what's our list? 200 as of right now that are making 52-week highs. Now what I want to do is I'm going to make a group from these 200 stocks. I hit my alternate G key, and I'll just say Perfect Spec stocks, and they're from 7/27/23, and I'm isolating this group down in my non-index files. I don't need that now, so I have these stocks. Actually, I'm going to sort on symbol, and then I'm going to save list as. And I'm putting this in my downloads folder. I have one from yesterday. I'm just going to overwrite that. And then I'm going to go into filters, and I will type SYM until I get to the symbol list. I'm going to edit that list. I'm going to clear the filter, and then I'm going to load that list from my downloads folder. So I'm getting these 200 securities into this filter, and I'm going to use that to go back in time and just show you where these stocks appeared in some of the industry groups. I'm sorry, some of the groups that I saved, not necessarily industry groups. Okay, so now I'm going into the designer. And the filter you can see is right here. It's attached. I'm going to go into the group inclusion report. I'm going to clear it, and I'm going to go into my non-index groups, and I'm going to start with top 50 group inclusion report. These are stocks that appear in the top 50 every day, and I'm going to start at the beginning of this year. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And include everything through yesterday, and I'll check the children, and that makes sure that all of the stocks are selected, and I'm going to use the applied filter, that symbols list, which is going to separate these stocks out from the top 50. And let's just take a look at it. So you can see that Super Micro Computers has appeared in the top 50 right here 68 times since the 1st of January, and it was appearing on the 3rd of January. I don't think the 2nd was even a trading day, so it was appearing clear back in January. And let's just go take a look at that stock right now. It's been a tremendous winner, but look at all the times it appeared. There were periods when it wasn't in the top 50, but this proves my point, or one of my points, that these stocks that are strong, that are appearing in the top 50, are a lot of times they are Perfect Speculator stocks even at that time. So SMCI, get this out of the way. move this up a little bit if I can, or just do it this way. Okay, so this is SMCI as of today. It's right here. Move my drawing tools out of the way so you can see what has happened here on this weekly chart. So let's go back to the 3rd of January. It was right here. It really wasn't moving that much. Let's look at the daily chart. And I'm going to go to a different chart here. I'm going to go to my 2C chart. And let's alternate C, alternate A, no, not alternate A, alternate I brings the info up, and I want to go to, well, I don't think I have it on here. I need to zoom in, and 120, I still don't have enough. Right in here, you can't see it because of the window. Zoom in a bit more. So this is really compressed right here, but you can see that on the 3rd, if you look down here at the corner or over here, this was on a Tuesday. The high was 85, and we're going to look at a different chart here in a minute. But this was trading for $85 with a low of 81. So it had a big day on that day, and then it bounced around, and you saw all the other times that it came up. But let's just drop down to a plain chart so we can see this. And go back to 1, 3 right here. So this is still compressed because this has had such a big move here, but it appeared there and then it bounced around more, and let's see how many times it appeared in that group in that time period. 1, 6, 9, and then February 1st. Let's go look at the 1st of February and see if that's when it was really breaking out. February 1st would be right there. You can see there is a stopping volume and a reversal, and it looks like it was taking off from that point. I mean, it didn't go straight up. They never do, but that's the beauty of these stocks that are appearing in the top 50 and the Perfect Speculator groups, is that there is an opportunity to get into them. So let's go back to that 2C chart, and let's look at it on right around February 1st here. So you can see, here it is right here. It had chopped around here, but on this day, with the stopping volume, the 3 went above the 6. It had a nice run, a pullback. What's this? This is another buying opportunity. Here's a pullback, another buying opportunity here, and here, and here, and then look at this move here on the big gap. Look how far the 3 and the 6 moved apart with this histogram move like this. Big move up. And then it settled down. Test, confirmation of that test, and it just moved up, and then what happened? Profit taking. What do we have here? We have another buying opportunity. My point is these strong stocks, and this may not have been a Perfect Speculator stock at that time. I don't know, but it was a top 50 group inclusion report stock. So it was showing up as having strong demand, and it got to the point where the relative strength and the 52-week high breakouts started appearing. Now let's go back to the daily. Okay, this was probably a 52-week high, and then this probably was, and then a pullback, and this probably was, and then this probably was, and then I doubt, well, this did, and then it pulled back. So these 52-week highs, you don't necessarily want to buy them, but you want to keep these stocks in a list. Not always easy to do, but I've got something that may help us on this. So that's just one example of a stock. Let's go back to this. Let's look what else. Okay, here's Pulte Group. This is the one that I made 50% on a bull debit spread in one day because it gapped up. Let's take a look at it. And when did it start? Same time, early January. Look at all these days in January and February. So, PHM. And look at this beautiful weekly chart. This is going back to last year, November. This is a beautiful weekly chart, and it continues to go higher. Let's just go back to January. Right in here, you can see that it was showing in the top 50, and this really didn't look back until here when it pulled back. I'm going to bring up that other chart. And we're going to look at the histogram. So buy here, pull back, buy here. Didn't really go anywhere. Might have been stopped out here, but here's another buying opportunity here on the histogram. And look at that run. And then here's another buying opportunity. Pull back, another buying opportunity. Pull back, another buying opportunity. My point of all of this is these Perfect Speculator stocks and the top 50 group inclusion report stocks are stocks that are showing that they're strong. They're moving up at that time. That doesn't mean that they're not going to stall out, because they do. But if you get it at the right time, and the 3-6 crossover with volume is a good place. It's not going to work all the time, but it works enough. And if you get lucky enough to catch one of these stocks that's on the move, you can make a lot of money. If you don't have the capital to buy these stocks, if they're trading those debit spreads with liquidity in the options, you can play them that way and do really well with them. Now I was going to show you how many times these stocks come up in these stocks and groups moving up. Well, I'll do that quickly, but I'm not going to take the time to look at charts. Let's go in, and I'm going to clear this. Let's go up to stocks and groups moving up, and start in January of this year. Go down through yesterday in July. Check children. This is another great way to stay on top of what's moving. And here is an oil fields stock. It appeared 93 times in stocks and groups moving up. I'm not really familiar with this. Let's just take a look at NEX and see. And it's made a move recently. Okay, it's really chopped around in the weekly, but look at this strong move. It had a price trend change right here when that's third weekly high, and it moved up sharply since then. It's not an expensive stock either. Let's go look at another stock here and see what's next. Okay, there's Pulte again. It was showing up in the top 50 at the same time it was showing up in the stocks and groups moving to the upside. Super Micro, we already looked at that. This one was showing up in the stocks and groups moving to the upside. So I think you get the point. If you pay attention to those stocks and groups moving up and the top 50 group inclusion report, and or the Perfect Speculator scans, you're going to find these stocks that are moving up. A lot of them fail. I'm not saying they don't, but the winners have to go through the Perfect Speculator stock. They have to hit 52-week highs or multi-year highs. Now, I want to show you something that I thought of yesterday as I was doing the webinar, which I didn't publish because I wasn't happy with it. But here is a list of Perfect Speculator stocks that are hitting or within 5% of their 52-week high. Now I have to take this filter off because it is the stocks that I put in the filter to run those scans. There's 144 in there. When I take this off, it's going to be a lot more. You can see that 311 stocks are within 50% of their, or I'm sorry, 5% of their 52-week high. Now you can use this list for prospecting. So let's just go in here, and I'm in this list if you look up here in the corner, and then I'm going to go into my scans right here, and let's say that I'm looking for a slight pullback off the high, 82 of them. Let's do a 3-6 crossover with a 2-day window. This stock must not be supported by Thinkorswim. If I do a raw combo, these are stocks that are Perfect Speculator stocks that crossed over yesterday, and it's up another 26% today. Don't know what this is all about, but it proves my point. Well, there was an opportunity to get into it today. This is a weekly chart. This is a daily chart. It proves my point about these stocks hitting 52-week highs and then being within 5%. So this probably hit the 52-week high yesterday, and it's continuing today. It's a pharma stock, a biotech stock. Let's look at something not quite so dramatic like MCOR. If I bring it up, you can see that it's had a nice daily trend and nice weekly trend. This is a beautiful stock. It's expensive now, but there may be an option play on this. But look how tight this is. And making this full size, there were many buying opportunities where the 3 pulled down below the 6 and then it went over again. The fan is up. What a nice stock. EME, just out of curiosity, probably a very illiquid stock. It doesn't trade weeklies. And let's just look at 21 days. Yeah, you don't want to trade these because look at this. The ask is 6 and the bid is 3.5. You just don't waste your time. If you want to play stock like this, you're going to have to buy it outright. And it's an institutional trade at this point. Okay, let's find something that's, well, these are all expensive. So here's one that's reasonably priced in a 341 stock. Okay, look at this. Look at this beautiful price trend change right here. Higher high, and then a higher high right here at this point. And it, okay, higher high, higher, and then right here in the middle when it took out that high. And at that point, it was trading for $45. And what is it trading for today? It's up approaching 60. But this is a stock that hit a 52-week high back here, and it has just moved up beautifully. Here's a nice buy point right here. You don't have to play these really expensive stocks. It looks like there are plenty of bargains. Now this had to be above $5 when it went into the list. Well, maybe not. maybe it's split or had a reverse split or something. But here it is. Stock breaking out to a new high. Okay, that's just one example of what of my scans here. If you're looking for stocks that are continuing with a, well, there's MCOR. Let's look at the next one here. Continuing with big volume where the blue bar is and a crossover. Here was a really nice pullback of a former stock that formerly had hit a 52-week high. This list, remember, they're all within 5% of a 52-week high. If you look at this list and apply my screens or your screens or whatever, you can find stocks that have pulled back, and you can use these columns right here to see how fresh the signals are. Now I'm going to go back to the designer. I want to show you something else that I came up with after I signed off yesterday. I am accessing, let me take this filter off here. I put a couple of Perfect Speculator scans in here to help with this. They hit a 52-week high. 3 is below the 6, setting up, and then I have a crossover right here. You can see I'm accessing this 52-week high list of stocks, and what this is accessing, I'll just go right up here and point this out up above here. In my non-index files, I have Perfect Speculator stocks, and this builds throughout the week, and then on the weekend I'll go in and apply a filter and eliminate everything that is down more than 5%. So on Monday you're going to get a list of Perfect Speculator stocks that are not down more than 5%, and that's what these two groups are accessing. Now there's 500 in here now, but you can see that these are all stocks that recently hit a 52-week high, and they're pulling back. So let's just go in here, and I want to go up to my scorecard view, and you can see that these stocks, let's get this out of the way so we can see the charts. Recently hit a 52-week high, and they're pulling back. This is a buying opportunity. It looks like the 3 is crossing the 6 today. So well, I don't know about this long upper wick here, but it's a potential buy. Let's look at the next one, ITT. Nice setup here. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Strong weekly chart. Didn't mean to do that. I wanted to go over here. Krispy Kreme. Setting up. I don't know. I'd be wary of this one. It's still basing, and the weekly chart shows that also. NAVI. Strong weekly chart to here, and then it's been chopping around some, but it's setting up. The fans still intact, but these recently hit 52-week highs. Now let's go down to the next one. These are crossover stocks contained within that list that are crossing over today. Here's one that's up 26.22%. You can see that probably hit the 52-week high yesterday. KLA 10 core crossed over yesterday. The VPOC crossed over 5 days ago. It's breaking past resistance. Here was the 52-week high, pulled back. Buying these breakouts here can be hazardous to your health, but sometimes you'll catch them. It's a lot of times when they're coming off a base with this effort to rise, that's the time to get in. Doesn't always work out, as you can see right back here, but always take a look at the group up here, see what the group's doing. If the group's moving up, that's very helpful. And if If it's a feeding frenzy in tech stocks like it is now, that's all the better. Okay, so these crossed over. So with these user groups, here's a ready-made watch list for you every day based upon Perfect Speculator stocks. Now, these two user groups, and these are all in your add-on, by the way, if you're an Insider Club member. A customer wanted to set up a filter or set up filters looking only at specific industry groups. And these two, here's the 3 below the 6, or the crossing the 6. So if I open this up, look at the filter, you can see that if the stocks are in any of these groups, group members of any of these groups, stocks and groups moving to the upside, stocks and groups moving to the upside 1 to 15, leaders, relative strength 90, Kirk 90, long-term leaders, user smart groups, high box, HGS box stocks leaders, Perfect Speculator stocks, I put that in also. The stocks within 5%. If they show up in any of those and meet the other requirements of pulling back, this is another way to be specific about the groups you're looking at. So I'm not going to go into the other group. It's the same filter except with a crossover. And let's make sure that there's no filter interfering. So these are setting up and these are crossing over. There's only 4 setting up. Well, let's transfer that to the warehouse view and see what they're doing today. You can see they're all ups. Overseas is off its high. But these stocks are specific to those industry groups that I looked at. We can do all kinds of stuff with these user smart groups, and I'm liking this Perfect Speculator, these groups, because we know these are strong stocks that have recently had a high, and the time to buy them or to look at them is when they're pulling back and setting up, and then put a buy stop in, or if they're highly liquid stocks, you can go in and look at using debit spreads on them if there is liquidity. That's it for this video. I decided to break these videos up rather than doing one long video because they're 2 distinct subjects. So I went ahead and did the debit spreads first and then the Perfect Speculator scan after that. Thanks for listening, and I'll probably do one more webinar next week, and then I'm going to wrap this series up. It's been going on since May, and I'm going on vacation the following week. So once again, thanks for listening. I hope you get some value out of this.